It's a pleasure to serve you. We are coming to you live from digital address GA0992539. We're also streaming live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Now, more than 1 month after the passage of the Right to Information Bill, Parliament is yet to forward it to the Presidency. Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Osei Mensah-Bonsu admits this is slower compared to other bills like the appropriation bills, which he says are transmitted to the Presidency within 7 days. A member of the RTI coalition, Akoto Ampao, at a forum on implementation of the law, demanded to know whether the President had assented to it. He tells Joy News Parliament may have to pass a law spelling out timelines for bills to be transmitted. My colleague Joseph Akabley joins me with more on this. Hello, Joseph.
Hello, Benes.
So what was the reaction to members of the RTI coalition on this response by the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs?
So in fact, the discussion largely centered on how the law will be implemented, and many suggestions have come in about the importance of setting up the Information Commission in a manner that is transparent enough and has individuals who are competent enough leading this particular commission that is going to ensure that the whole infrastructure for information dissemination is in place. So it was during that interaction that the civil society organizations were given an opportunity to contribute. And Mr. Akoto Ampao, who was the first to speak, asked that, what is the status of the bill currently? Because he knows that it has been passed by Parliament, but he wanted to be clear in his mind whether the President has assented to it or not. In the reaction of the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, Mr. Osei Mensah-Bonsu, he said that they are taking a bit of time in terms of cleaning up the bill. So what they are doing is that they are making the changes to the amendments that were made to the bill, and in simple terms, what will be printed eventually will become what is the act. And once that is complete, they will send it over to the President. He says sometimes just by the single elimination of a comma that has been amended to be there could change the entire meaning of the law. And that is why they are going through the due diligence to ensure that that is done. But he admitted that indeed, in terms of the appropriation bill, it has to be passed within the same financial year that Parliament reads the bill. And he says mostly they are even able to do that within 7 days. And that is when Mr. Akoto Ampao made a point that he thinks there should be some timelines imposed on Parliament in terms of how soon it passes it. I asked some other participants, and they make the point that at least they've got a firm commitment coming from him, that they are hoping that within this week they will transmit it over to the Presidency for the presidential assent. So that is reassuring for them, even though they would have preferred that 1 month should have been enough time for this transition to have been done, Benes.
Thank you very much, Joseph Akabley. Meanwhile, some MPs are urging government to improve the conditions of service of workers ahead of Midday celebration. They are asking government to provide better pension and ensure adequate remuneration for workers, particularly those lower the ladder, like mortuary men or morticians. My colleague Joseph Apuku-Gapo joins us live with more on this call. Joseph.
Hi, Benny.
It's just interesting that the MPs are calling for this. What really necessitated this call?
So, Dr. Alfredo Kuboy, who is the MP for Lejokuku, delivered a statement on the floor to commemorate May Day celebration ahead of the celebration of the day tomorrow, making the point that the interests of workers should be prioritized. There should be conscious effort to make workers comfortable as the sure way to get the best out of them in the work that they do. By the way, contributions to that particular statement from other members of Parliament, the minority leader highlighted, for example, was drawing attention to the situation with the security services and how come they are not sure whether they are going to be on the Cap 30 pension or some other pension scheme, which he says could be very worrying for morale at the level of the security persons. And he's also been commenting on, you would recall, the recent threat by mortuary workers to go on strike, and made the point that it's about time that conscious efforts are made to increase their remunerations, provide them with better conditions of service, give them the adequate pension so workers will be able to help the country build a better nation in the years ahead.
Joseph, normally the House should be on recess around this time, but it's been called for emergency purposes. Tell us what else is happening in the House.
Right now, the MPs are considering the Companies Bill. Now, the Companies Bill is an amendment to the existing Companies Act that is seeking to tighten the regulations and ensure that people who manage companies are held more accountable by the state. And so the House is currently looking at that. We all expected that the House would have dealt with the issue of the vigilantism bill, which they never done and will not do between now and the end of the week, but a lot of the focus is on the company's bill. And one indication we are getting from government is that there is a grant to the tune of $500 million that's coming from one of our international partners. And as part of that, there is a deadline of April for the state to ensure that the amendment is done to the company's bill, which is what the MPs are trying to beat, and they are rushing through the company's bill. A little later in the day, we are also expecting work to be done on the tax waiver to the tune of $69 million that's been given to Sino Hydro in order for them to undertake various road infrastructure projects across the country.
We'll leave it here. Thank you so much. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo is our man in Parliament, giving us some updates on what's been happening on the floor, and MPs asking that the conditions of service of workers be improved. Meanwhile, Deputy General Secretary of the TUC is asking for an easy means of calculation of pension scheme of workers. According to Mr. Roxon Bukhari, who spoke on the AM show earlier, with technology, workers should have access to funds and know how much they have before going on pension.
Because when workers who are the contributors of this scheme are not privy to the calculations, and you don't know all of a sudden a percentage is slashed and paid to you, it has become a suspicion. The perception is that because we are not aware of how pensions are calculated, we believe there is something wrong in there. And that is the issues that we are raising, that Senate must come out clean to tell us how these pensions are calculated that arrive at the figures that they pay to us when people retire. We think that they have not done much education to members, and today with ICT and IT, I think that by the click of a phone, you should be able to know your pensions as at the date. You don't wait until when you are retiring before you go there for them to calculate for you. We think that Senate should do better by letting every contributor knowing his pension even whilst in active service. If that is done, then one will know that a right amount is being paid to the person. So we think that Senate should continue with education, serious education about Senate pensions calculations. Because if you are aware of how your benefits is calculated, I don't think in the end you have a problem. But if you don't know how your pension is calculated, definitely, whether it is right or wrong, that person will have to raise questions to know why is it that I'm taking this money as benefit. So we think that key problem must be resolved once and for all, where when you're active service, you'll be able to access an information that talks about your future.
You heard that Deputy Boss of the TUC, Joseph Ansah. Now, President Akufo-Addo says he's determined to deal with the increasing cases of kidnappings, expressing worry over recent incidents. 3 girls from Takrady, an Indian businessman and an Estonian diplomat, have in recent months been kidnapped, and raising concern for many Ghanaians. Thankfully, the Estonian diplomat and the Indian businessman were rescued by police. Speaking at an event to roll out a national anti-corruption plan, President Akufo-Addo seized the opportunity to comment on the matter.
We are all concerned about this phenomenon of kidnappings, which we have not known. Our brothers and sisters in Nigeria have known it, but we have not known it in this country. And we need to do something about it to make sure that it doesn't become a feature of our society. I am very, very, very determined on the issue, and decisions are being taken as we speak that will be a clear manifestation of the determination I have to deal with this matter. Yes, the disturbing trend of citizens and of the reaction of security personnel, and also the attitude of citizens towards the serving personnel. These are all part and parcel of disturbing trends in our society that we have to find a way. There's a thin line about democratic governance that also we all have to bear in mind, and that is the freedoms and due process and all of that. also can sometimes get in the way of the kind of actions that you want to take to address certain kinds of problems. But the balance between liberty and order, that balance is a balance that we have to maintain and ensure its sustenance at all times. We want to be free, but we also want to live in an ordered society where you can go to bed at night and feel comfortable, walk on the streets of your city and feel safe. So we need to balance the two. It's not always easy, but it has to be done. And I recognize the need for that to take place.
Though the president didn't speak on any of the specific kidnap cases that have been recorded since last year, this may appear to be good news for many who've called on him to comment at least on the case of the missing Takoradi girls. For the national chairman of the PNC, Bernard Mona, the president spoke loosely in comparing recent kidnappings in Ghana to what happens in Nigeria.
I don't know why the president chose to invite a battle between Ghana and Nigeria in this instance, and I'm sure that any person with little international relations will be worried about the president's pronouncement and drawing in Nigeria into a domestic crisis that you are confronted with.
Okay.
Why would Mr. President say that this phenomenon is known in Nigeria? Because we did not magnify it in the manner that it is being magnified in Nigeria. This is not the first time people are gone missing. You, in your station here, have reported countlessly the number of people that are gone missing from their families. They have been kidnapped or whatever. It's never said as bad as the president has put it, drawing some diplomatic wedge between Ghana and Nigeria. Why would Mr. President engage in such loose talk? That is the first one. The second important thing that I want to state in this matter is that, look, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. We are now entering into May. We are entering into May. And it is that if the anti-corruption group did not go to the presidency to talk about many issues afflicting our nation, Mr. President was not going to talk about it.
Our security analyst Dr. Emmanuel Kwesienin says the recent trend of kidnappings Ghana is recording is not going to cease anytime soon. Speaking on News Desk earlier, Dr. Enin noted kidnapping has become a business and the police must acknowledge that and work on it.
This is a business. They're not going to see an end to it. Not now. No. I've been harping on this for 5 years. I was told I am an alarmist. I'm not optimistic. We are on top of situations. We want to disgrace government A or government B. No, we are not going to see an end to it because we are looking at this as, oh, but these people are bad people. Why do they pick somebody's child or why do they see the businessman? This is business, pure and simple. So we've got to ask ourselves counterfactual questions. Okay? If and when societies expand in an unplanned manner, how do people behave? When people feel excluded from society, how do they behave? How do crimes change to respond to the opportunities created by poor law enforcement? No, this is, if you look at it from the demand and supply side, and use business model, then we can begin to respond to this. But it is basically saying they may come from country X, country Y. This is not our nature. It does not help. No. This is not going to end now. So we should brace ourselves and we should collaborate better with the police, and the police should provide us with better information.
Dr. Enin has also been commenting on the Criminal Investigation Department's approach to finding the girls. He suggests the CID must have a more careful and responsible way of communicating such sensitive issues like the case of kidnapping.
We've all shown a certain concern to come to grips with the kidnapping cases. In talking about the police and talking about these cases, we haven't shown enough sensitivity to the families involved and the individuals who are hurting and suffering. I think going forward, first, the CID must have a more responsible and careful communication around these cases. I think the CID has failed in the manner in which they have communicated information, not only about the kidnapping, but also about murders in this country. We need sensitivity in dealing with these cases and in talking about it.
Now, one out of the 6 footbridges along the Medina-Adenta Highway has been completed. On our visit to the 5 other bridges, engineers were busily working, though it appears they will miss the April deadline for completion. 6 contractors working on the 6 Adenta-Medina Highway footbridges assured President Akufo-Addo of completing construction by April. The bridge is located at Firestone, Zongo Junction, Redco, Rich Junction, SDA Junction and Adenta until November 2018, when the contracts were awarded, had been partially completed. Even though some residents living around the Rich Junction are excited about the completion of the bridge, they complain it takes a great deal of energy to use the walkway. Nancy Amafadradosi has been interacting with some engineers working on the project. Hello, Nancy. Finally, you've been able to reach some of the engineers. What have they been telling you, especially with regards to the bridges that have not been completed?
Okay, so Benis, the engineer got here some 20 to 25 minutes ago, and he's been explaining the reasons why the staircase leading to the footbridge is very long. Because initially when I spoke to you, I told you that it's actually very long. So from the downstairs, it's like 150 meters, and then it goes zigzag, which is very long. But he's been explaining, he says that it is disability friendly in the sense that if they decided to make it short, the staircase short, it would have been very steep, and the persons who use the wheelchairs and then also the crutches would not be able to pass or use the stairs. And that is why they had to make it this slopey, so that persons with disability will be able to use it, and people who are able to also be able to use it successfully. So basically, he's been explaining and giving that explanation as to why the staircase is long, and is asking residents to bear with them.
Nancy, talking of residents, they've also been telling you about this walkway that you talk about, the walkway that goes zigzag. And some of them have been actually saying that it's too tiring for them to use it.
Yeah, in fact, I met a certain woman who was carrying, you know, a sack of maize on the head, or cassava, or that, something of that sort, and she was telling me that if she was walking on it, usually she doesn't really get tired, but in a case where you are carrying loads to cross over to the other side, that is where the difficulty is. But overall, they're all excited about it. That's the general feeling, because they say that at least it is better than crossing the road like this. In fact, one woman told me that they have to stand at this exact junction that you see, drop in from here just to go round the U-turn at the Rich Junction or at the Adenta SDA before they're able to cross. And so I should tell you how, you know, tiring this has been. In fact, I also saw a student from the West African Senior High School who told me that, you know, they're excited about this because now it's very easy for them to cross the road to the other side. So even though they have concerns, generally the mood is that they're excited about this.
Nancy, today is April 30, supposed to be the deadline for completion of these 6 bridges along the Medina-Adenta Highway. Have you spotted any government representative, anybody from the highways inspecting or finding out from these different 6 contractors why some of them, the 5, have not been able to complete the work?
Well, Benis, I must say that I have visited all 6 footbridges in the morning. At least as of the time I was at the various bridges, I didn't spot any government official. I must say that when we got here early in the morning, by the way, it was raining, so maybe we could say that was the reason why they were not there. But from here, we'll go back to the various places and find out whether they are there. But as of now, no government official, not even here where the bridge has been completed. Nobody has visited the place.
Finally, Nancy, can you tell us if you've been told why the other 5 bridges have not been completed.
Well, generally, with my interaction with this particular engineer, he tells me that, at a point in time, they realized some of the designs that were originally given to them to be used, and they had some fault with it. So for him, he says he even delayed because of the fact that he had to redesign it again. And he is saying that, well, the other people might be facing similar challenges, and that's the reason why they have not been able to complete. So even though I haven't met the engineers of the other structures, it shows that maybe, just maybe, something hampered or tempered or didn't help them to complete their project on time.
Thank you very much, Nancy Dradosi there joining us live from Medina, where one of the footbridges has been completed. Now let's stay on roads, and here are a few tips for you. While on the road, remember, finishing your journey is paramount. If you are a driver and if you're a pedestrian, you want to watch carefully before crossing the road. Together with Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited and the Road Safety Commission, we wish you a #safe drive. So that's our campaign for you. You can join the conversation, #safe drive. Now, government says the complexity of globalization and its impact on migration and security management calls for an increase in human resource requirement of the Ghana Immigration Service, both in numbers and capabilities. Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says government will strengthen management of immigration in order to deal with emerging issues. Speaking at the passing out of the 11th cadet intake of the Ghana Immigration Service at Asinfosu in the Central Region, the Vice President assured government will not be complicit in the security management of the country. Richard Kojonyako has more.
The Vice President says the Ghana Immigration Service must adopt a more innovative and a robust approach in managing migration issues in the interest of the state to ensure that illegal migrants do not compromise the security of the state. Dr. Bawumia revealed government was in the final stages of procuring arms and ammunition for the Ghana Immigration Service to improve security and also equip them with specialized surveillance equipment to enable them meet the demands of the job on their hands.
Let me indicate that the government will not be complacent in the security management of the country. We are alert and working to ensure that citizens, indeed all of us, are safe and continue to go about our activities without fear. Government is thus committed to ensure the full implementation of the Immigration Service Act 2016, which is aimed at injecting more efficiency and effectiveness into the service. In this regard, modern technology will provide one of the most reliable vehicles towards reaching this goal. The government would therefore expect the service to roll out the e-immigration project, which has been in the offing for some time now. The government on its part will not renege on its responsibilities of providing the logistics needed for you to deliver on your mandate. I am pleased to announce that we are at the final stage of procuring arms and ammunition for the service to boost its operations and enhance security at our borders.
Dr. Bawumia explained government was determined to rid the country of all types of crimes and as a result has handed over 150 high-performing vehicles to the Ghana Immigration Service and also announced an increase in the IGF retention from 13 to 30%, an announcement that received a thunderous applause from his audience.
Government is determined to rid the country of all types of crimes. To this end, the President has resolved to resource all security services to enable them enforce the law. Recently, government provided vehicles and other facilities to the Ghana Armed Forces and the police service. Government has also procured 150 high-performance vehicles to support the operations of the Ghana Immigration Service. The service is already making important arrests of some foreigners who are counterfeiting our currency and others involved in cybercrime. The President assures you that officers will no longer go on operations with their private vehicles with all its attendant problems.
The Vice President also commissioned a 221 capacity hostel facility and a 300 capacity lecture hall for the Immigration Academy after the passing out ceremony. The training school, he says, has also been upgraded with a 280 capacity hostel. Richard Kwejenyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
And filed this report.
In January this year, HEFRA embarked on a tour of some health facilities in Accra that had not been accredited by the agency. The authority issued a March 31 ultimatum for Kolebu to begin processes to be licensed or risk closure. Speaking at the presentation on Monday, Dr. Daniel Asari noted there is a need to rehabilitate some infrastructure at the over 90-year-old facility.
Some of the things which are 100 years old can never sustain itself now. Even the underground sewage which goes into the distance is asbestos. We're changing them alone will cost no more than less than $260 million. And I think the Ghana government is aware of that.
He admits this is cost intensive and the hospital is looking at lobbying and working with the Ministry of Health, Finance and other relevant stakeholders to address the situation.
We don't have a sewage treatment plant, and that's a capital project. So we need to lobby, facilitate, talk to the Ministry of Health and get the sewage treatment plant in place. Probably join to the Lavender Hill one so that the compost, all the fecal matter can go into a compost manure. So it's an action plan drawn and with the government, with the Coastal Development Authority. Some of these things are already in the budget, and we can do that within a period of 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Acting Registrar of the Health Facilities Regulatory Agency, HEFRA, Matthew Treme, who presented the certificate to the Chief Executive of the hospital, cautioned other health facilities to register with the agency or face closure.
I believe that we as a country today can share the positive news that Kolebu is now legally licensed in accordance with Act 829. And that is positive news. And what that means is that other facilities that have not done what they're supposed to do should have to take a cue from what Kolebu has done so that we can register them, inspect them, license them, and make sure that we can monitor them on a regular basis.
The hospital, which had an overall score of about 75% at the end of the assessment by HEFRA, has been given a 6-month period to present an action plan on some findings in the report. Kolebu Teaching Hospital becomes the second teaching hospital in the country to be accredited by HEFRA after the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital.
Now, the Volta Regional Hospital has been upgraded to a teaching hospital following Cabinet's approval of the conversion in 2018. Now, this is to enhance and provide clinical training for students of the University of Health and Allied Sciences and bring quality healthcare delivery closer to the people within the hospital's catchment area. Mr. Ajuman Menu, the Health Minister, made known his ministry's aim to undertake a major expansion and to resource the teaching hospital to enable it provide the quality health care.
The about 300-bed capacity hospital, which became operational in 1999, serves as a referral facility for smaller health facilities in the Volta and Oti regions. It has about 9 wards, 3 major theatres, laundry and sterilizing departments, a mortuary, herbal unit, among other departments. The whole teaching hospital, which is the 5th health facility to affiliate with the Ghana Medical School, is under-resourced. The Health Minister, Kweku Ajiman Menu, acknowledged this and outlined a roadmap to give the facility a facelift.
This hospital has been assessed by all the relevant regulatory bodies of the health system for the purpose of accreditation and recommending appropriate human resources and equipment required for quality service delivery as a teaching hospital. Their recommendations have been taken into consideration, and the ministry is doing everything possible to address all the gaps identified. The ministry is also aware that there are infrastructural gaps that need to be filled. The ministry is working towards acquiring funds to expand the infrastructure for service delivery, including additional wards, offices, and water.
The Vice-Chancellor of the University of Health and Allied Sciences, Professor John Owusu-Jepon, called for the constituting of the hospital's governing board in earnest to facilitate its operations.
Experiences from other teaching hospitals suggest that if the relationship is not managed properly, there can be challenges. And we do not expect to repeat the mistakes of the previous teaching hospital. The mistakes that were committed by the older teaching hospitals. We are therefore expecting that there will be good memorandum of understanding between us so that our relationship becomes very cordial and supportive.
You're watching News Today with me, Bernice Abubedulansa. Coming up in business, maintaining fiscal discipline during next year's election remains a major concern for some offshore investors in the country's bonds. We've got details shortly. Kindly stay.